Hey YouTube, this is Rescue Me Some Park Fan 62. This past Thursday, August the 24th, at about midday or so, it was reported that WWE superstar Bray Wyatt unfortunately passed away at the age of 36. But his creativity that he had for the wrestling industry has been amazing. Um, he was in before NXT came around in Florida Championship Wrestling. This was WWE's developmental at the time, and he had this character, which he would later bring back, where it was a guy wearing like a straw hat, a Hawaiian shirt, and pants and everything. Um, and so that got over very well. Then when Florida Championship Wrestling closed, which became NXT, um, he was in around, I forgot what um, season, but he in NXT, when it was the game show, um, was named Husky Harris. What exactly his gimmick was for that, I'm not entirely sure. But so his protege at the time was Cody Rhodes. So when Husky Harris came up to the main roster, um, he became a part of the Nexus back when that was a thing. So once that failed, he went back down to NXT again and brought back his cult leader gimmick like he had in FCW. And this is where it really got over big. The cult leader, which then he formed the Wyatt family, which was Bray Wyatt, Brody Lee, formerly known as Luke Harper, and Eric Rowan. I think he goes by Eric Redbeard or something now. So they became the Wyatt family. After being in NXT about a year, they came back up and debuted on the July 8th episode of Monday Night Raw in 2013. And this is where the creativity got over because he made the Wyatt family work. Um, his theme music was sort of like it was dark, but it was interesting because you could tell it was sort of like a southern bass song. And so the Wyatt family got over fairly quickly. And Bray Wyatt won multiple titles while being a part of the Wyatt family. And he had some memorable feuds, like the Shield and all of that. And toward the end of the cult leader, um, one of the biggest feuds he got into, I think it was right around WrestleMania, um, was versus, at the time, part of the Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt, or Randy Orton, I'm sorry, with that feud. So that was a cool, and how they also implemented a lot of different stuff, like um, Sister Abigail, which is Bray Wyatt's finisher, how they got her, sort of like her story, and um, that sort of stuff. Also, one of the things you should do is go back and look at some of Bray Wyatt's promos with the cult leader. Um, and it talked about stuff that we will later see, how he could hear somebody in the woods and stuff like that. So, after WrestleMania of 2019, which was WrestleMania 35, I believe, um, we started seeing these vignettes along with something called the Firefly Funhouse. The vignettes were for a new character called The Fiend, which I will get to in a minute. But the Firefly Funhouse would be something that would air on both Raw and SmackDown every week, typically the same episode. And so it implemented Bray as like a Mr. Rogers. So like a fun person, who has no evil and stuff like that. But then going into, well, starting about May or maybe early June of that year, the Firefly Funhouse has started to get a little bit darker. Now, I may be off with the timing on those, but so Bray Wyatt's like, do you want to see a secret? So he kind of did this thing where he transformed into the Fiend. The Fiend was this dark character who wore a mask, a red jacket, a black leather jacket, red pants, and like a red and black shirt. And he came out to, when he would wrestle, Code Orange's remix of Bray's original theme song. At SummerSlam 2019, Bray debuted The Fiend for his in-ring debut of The Fiend versus Finn Balor, and won. And so after that, so then we get into 2020. So we get into the pandemic era of this. And this is where things start to take a turn. It was the July 23rd, I believe, episode of SmackDown where The Fiend attacked Alexa Bliss after her disagreement with her former tag partner, Nikki Cross. And The Fiend used the mandible claw on her. So after that, Alexa started to change. So then we start getting into the Thunderdome era, which was SummerSlam 2020. So after that, she started to change more and started acting like the Fiend a little bit. Well, started having this obsession over him. Now, by Christmas time 2020 to early 2021, Alexa has started to get more into the Fiend. Um, and then WrestleMania time 2021. Well, let me go back a bit. At TLC 2020, um, Bray Wyatt, the Fiend at the time, had a feud versus Randy Orton. The stipulation, this the name of this match was called the Firefly Funhouse Inferno match. So basically, you had to catch your opponent on fire. Simple enough. Um, and Randy Orton basically made the Fiend a crisp version of himself. So this is where Alexa got involved. So she continued that feud by herself by basically making Bray's or Randy Orton's life miserable in there. So at Fastlane 2021, which was the last pay-per-view, I believe, of the Thunderdome era, um, she had a match versus Randy Orton. And um, the Fiend came back as a crispier version of himself. Um, and Alexa pinned Randy Orton from help of the Fiend. Now, WrestleMania 2021 was the first WrestleMania or pay per view to have fans back since Elimination Chamber 2020. On night on the first match of night 2, which was the second WrestleMania where they split it into 2 nights. To start off the night was the Fiend versus Randy Orton. And Randy Orton won from help of Alexa, where she was wearing like a dark, black colored dress or something with like black goo coming down her face, like she made Randy's or like was coming out of Randy Orton during that feud. Now, after that, the Fiend wasn't seen for a while. In July of 2021, the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, they fired him due to budget cuts. And so in July of 2022, Triple H took over Vince McMahon's role. At SummerSlam 2022, he brought back Dakota Kai and re-signed Io Shirai. Fast forward to Extreme Rules of 2022. Um, going back a little bit, they started having these vignettes on Raw and SmackDown every week of like follow the bunny or follow the white bunny or something like that with QR codes. So at um, Extreme Rules 2022 to end the show had the re-debut of Bray Wyatt as this new character. So the cool thing was, this is one of the things you should watch is how he debuted, because it showed like the Firefly Funhouse, the life-size versions of the Funhouse characters, um, the crisp Fiend mask on the announcer's desk, while Bray Wyatt was singing over the intercom. He's got the world in his hands. Then this door opens with fog and like a swirling light, with Bray Wyatt come out in a mask, and they go ballistic. So, um, Bray Wyatt would come out every week talking about different things. So he would. So then we got introduced to a character named Uncle Howdy, which supposedly he grew up with or something. I'm not entirely sure how Uncle Howdy fit in. And so it was sort of like a Two-Face type character, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. But one of the coolest feuds he had with this character, which was the only feud, unfortunately, was versus LA Knight. And so this went into Raw 30 in January, where LA Knight was with both The Undertaker and Bray Wyatt. So LA Knight retreated. The Undertaker said something to Bray Wyatt. Fast forward to the Royal Rumble of 2023. They had the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. I did review the soda on this channel, so if you want to go look at that, I highly suggest that. But this was basically where they had black lights on. Bray was wearing like glow-in-the-dark paint. There was some glow-in-the-dark stuff with the logo and everything like that. And then at the end, you saw Uncle Howdy and jump off this lifted platform with an explosion. So after that, supposedly Bray Wyatt was supposed to have a feud versus Bobby Lashley going into WrestleMania 39. Well, unfortunately, due to some things, that could not happen. Basically, it got started, but then it had to stop after like 2 or 3 weeks. So then after that, you didn't really hear anything about it. So there was rumors going around Bray was supposed to come back at WrestleMania. That obviously did not happen. Then those rumors came up again going into SummerSlam. That didn't happen. Now, that is Bray's WWE career. Now, Bray had a very cool, all these cool characters. From the cult leader to the fiend to, I guess, the Two-Face character. But during all that as well, he had to overcome a lot. I applaud Impact Wrestling and AEW, All Elite Wrestling, for paying tributes to Bray Wyatt in many forms. Like, if you watched All In yesterday, the House of Black kind of did something similar with Bray's entrance with the lantern. I applaud all that. Bray Wyatt, while he did not have the basic gimmicks as a wrestling character, as most people typically would, he thought outside the box, which is something I applaud him doing. And just the way he did everything, from the way he spoke to the way his promos were, it was just amazing. And you could tell he was not doing like the WWE way or everything else. He kind of did it his own way with this stuff. I applaud him for being a creative person, bringing these characters to life. You will be missed, Bray, for all that you did in wrestling, WWE or not. R.I.P. Bray Wyatt.